Hi. In Acts chapter 23, Paul defends himself before the Sanhedrin against their charges against him. Now in chapter 24, he defends himself against their accusations before Felix, the governor. I'm going to read what Paul says to the governor. So Acts 24, 10 to 21. Then Paul, after the governor had nodded to him to speak, answered, "Inasmuch as I know that you have been for many years a judge of this nation, I do the more cheerfully answer for myself, because you may ascertain that it is no more than 12 days since I went up to Jerusalem to worship, and they neither found me in the temple disputing with anyone, nor inciting the crowd either in the synagogues or in the city. Nor can they prove the things of which they now accuse me. But this I confess to you, that according to the way, which they call a sect, so I worship the God of my fathers, believing all things which are written in the law and in the prophets. I have hope in God, which they themselves also accept, that there will be a resurrection of the dead, both of the just and of the unjust. This being so, I myself always strive to have a conscience without offense towards God and men. Now after many years I came to bring alms and offerings to my nation, in the midst of which some Jews from Asia found me, purified in the temple, neither with a mob nor with tumult. They ought to have been here before you to object, if they had anything against me. Or else let those who are here themselves say if they found any wrongdoing in me, while I stood before the council. Unless it is for this one statement which I cried out, standing among them, concerning the resurrection of the dead, I am being judged by you this day." So this is what he speaks to the governor. So Paul says in verse 11 that he was in Jerusalem to worship, to bring alms, and to make an offering at the temple in verse 17. He confesses that he follows the way, which in verse 5 his accusers call the sect of the Nazarenes. And he says that he is worshiping the God of his fathers, the same God as they are worshiping, and that he believes the law and the prophets. This is in verse 14. And that he has the same hope of the resurrection of the dead as they have in verse 15. In private conversation with Felix and his wife Drusilla, when they are asking to speak with him, what does Paul talk to them about? Verse 24 says, "After some days, when Felix came with his wife Drusilla, who was Jewish, he sent for Paul and heard him concerning the faith in Christ. Now as he reasoned about righteousness, self-control, and the judgment to come, Felix was afraid and answered, 'Go away for now. When I have a convenient time, I will call you.'" So that was 24 and 25. So Paul talks to them about faith in Christ, about righteousness, self-control, and judgment to come. So again, I found that in his public preaching, and preaching to non-believers in Christ, that's what he talks to them about. Faith in Christ. It's Christ-centered. And then the topic of the resurrection is always in the forefront. Not the use of the divine name, converting to a new religion, a one true religion. He's not talking about times and seasons or any of the good news themes that I was presenting as a Jehovah's Witness when I went door to door. He talks about Christ and Christ's death. Before Festus, Felix's successor, Paul restates his innocence regarding the offenses against the law and the prophets, the temple, and Caesar. This is 25, verse 8, where he says, "Neither against the law of the Jews, nor against the temple, nor against Caesar have I offended in anything at all." Paul's next opportunity for public witness will be before the King Agrippa. So we'll do that the next time. I'm linking to why can't or won't JWs preach, witness, or dialogue like the Apostle Paul. And that was based on some readings that David and I were doing in Raymond Franz's book, In Search of Christian Freedom. And I'll put in the playlist for all the videos we've done concerning the book of Acts. Thanks for listening.